WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in Ireland. Today I have the Kirker and Greer 10-year-old single grain, extremely rare limited edition Irish whiskey. Yay! I really like the bottle, the can design, the tin. And what I really do love is the bottle design here. Very, very well done, gentlemen. So this is actually a marketing company is what I call them. They're a brand building company from Belfast, Ireland. And they actually have also in their portfolio the Job Box Gin, which is a big hit in Ireland, as well as the Bow Saw American and bourbon whiskeys and rye whiskeys in the States, which I don't think have made a big splash yet. All right, so what do I want to do? I want to compare it, and I pulled out something that was not very well distributed in my personal opinion, and that is the Hyde 8-year-old single grain cask strength limited edition bourbon matured 59% Irish whiskey. Whew. All right, good. Also poorly prepared. I forgot to pull out a glass for this. Now, this is whiskey base number 139700. I paid for this 49 euros, including tax and postage from the UK over here to Germany. And at the Celtic whiskey shop, that's going now for 59 euros. So one of the things I did not like about this was the consumer protection. So there's this tiny, tiny little strip that goes over there. When that's broken, that's it. Usually I'm used to a nice little plastic seal, but I guess I could have pulled this off, which I can, and I could have put it back on, and so on. Those plastic seals I cannot break and then put back on. But hey, I hope no one's going to tamper with these. Now, the color is amazing. Let's take a look at this, all right? So this is an 8-year-old, 59%. This is a 43%. I think this is colored. It doesn't say anything on it, but you never know. So I've just done a Shamrock, a whiskey from Ireland, 43%, and there's also a 16-year-old single malt. This is a blended whiskey, this is a single malt, and this is the grain. There is, by the way, also a single grain with 56%, which is 10 years old, which was not offered by the Whiskey Exchange, unfortunately. All right, so it says here, first fill American oak, very good. Ex-bourbon casks aged, very, very good. So it's first fill American casks, which it says here on the back. So it says here, no, it doesn't say there. When it says at the front, it says here, triple distilled, yay, and aged in first fill ex-bourbon casks, yay. Now, I have a little bit of a question. Grain whiskey usually is made in a coffee or a continuous still. It's usually not pot stilled. If it's pot stilled and it's made from malted barley, then it's called single malt. This is called single grain, and grain is usually made either by using a different method of distilling, not pot stills, but rather the continuous coffee still, and or by using a different mash bill. So actually, for those of you in the America, you know that mash bill is very important. 51% corn, minimum to be a bourbon, and the rest, whatever, other grains. It could be wheat, it could be a barley, it could be a rye. Now, all those together would be actually considered a grain whiskey over here in Europe, because we don't have the definition of bourbon. So all bourbons are grain whiskeys. They're usually made on a beer still, which would be a continuous still, and not on a pot still. Well, a few exceptions would be, for example, Balcones, would be Woodford Reserve, and so on. But this is actually probably a little bit of an oxymoron, because triple distilled grain whiskey in Ireland is not something we normally see. So this, for example, just says, and now I'm contradicting myself, this is cask strength single grain Irish whiskey, triple distilled. All right, good. So apparently someone out there, probably Bushmills, is putting their whiskey, their mash bill into a pot still and triple distilling it. Live and learn, live and learn. All right, very good. This is exactly the same thing, so I guess it is. Didn't know. This is a very interesting nose. It's got some caramel, it's got some brown sugar, it's got a little bit of chicken broth. Have you ever heard chicken broth as a tasting note? I haven't either. Um, it's got some grapes, some cranberries in there. Not cranberries, so wow, I totally lost here. Currants. I forgot the word for currants in English. It's got some currants, but it's very, very sweet and it's a little bit dark and it's a little bit more of the bourbon type of sweetness that kicks in here. Very, very nice. I like. Over here, 59%. I'm going to have to dilute it. Much, much higher, much more citrus, much more lighter as a whiskey. That won't do. All right, so we should be about 543, 46%. Interesting. Not half as the more vanillas come out when you dilute it. I'm getting more grape, a lot more grape, like those Concord grape moments, a dark red, purple grape. Sweetness. And there's a little bit of a tiny, tiny little meatiness in there, which really, really confuses me. Now, there's a second thing that confuses me. Oh, by the way, confusion. It says here, I'm going to read, named in honor of whiskey legends, every drop of Kirker and Greer whiskey today celebrates their bold liquid legacy. This extremely rare single grain release originates from one Irish distillery. They're not allowed to name it, apparently. Finally, it's rested in seasoned bourbon casks for a minimum of 10 years until liquid gold. Seasoned bourbon casks? Why? We have seasoned sherry casks, which means we prepare the casks, for example, Jerez in Spain, and then they're sent back over to Scotland, and they use them, and the sherry, the concentrate that was in there, is then maybe made into vinegar or something else, food preservatives, but it's usually not as a drink that anyone would actually like to enjoy. In the old days, we had the Solera cask that you could have, and the very before that or after that, you actually had the transport cask. But since it's no longer allowed to bottle sherry outside of that triangle of Jerez, you now have the problem with the sherried casks. But why do we have sherried bourbon casks? A friend of mine, he's a distiller over here in Germany. He buys container loads of Jack Daniel casks. I think 242 casks can actually, it could be 142 or it's 242, actually fit into a long container, the 40-foot container. And he just, they're up 3 and they're down and there's 4 across. And I actually could calculate how many casks actually fit in there. And it's a wonderful sight. And they cost about $140 or euros, however you want to calculate those each. Wonderful. All right. And why would you do seasoned casks? Why would you say on the front, first fill, and then on the back, seasoned? All right. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? All right. Cilantro to your health. Mm-hmm. Mm. 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 Fruity. Sweet. Nice. That little bit of alcohol at the end gives a nice little tingle. And a good sweet, a good woody, a little bit of fruit kicks in at the end. Very, very well done. This is actually one of the best grains I've had from Ireland in a long time. This is good. This is actually a C++, B-, type of thing. There aren't that many good grains coming out of Ireland. You have a Kilbeggan. You now have from Powers Court, you have something called Fercullen, Fercullen. It's a 10-year-old single grain, 40%. Over here in Germany, it costs 50 euros. This also costs 50 euros. And it's 43%. And you have basically Hyde. There's not that many other single grains out there. Question of the day, what single grains do you know? Either from Ireland or Scotland, or maybe the cheetah from Japan, for example. Write it down in the comments. Going over here, a totally different beast. It's a little bit more of a type of almost drier citrus. I'm getting more of a flowery moment, as in FLOUR. Hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. Very light. Um, mm. If I were to define the two of these, this is more like a V8, boom, 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 and this is like a Japanese, a very, very high-tuned type of grain. This is more the Cadillac. All right, this is nice. Surprisingly. Now, if you take a look at their internet site, website, you'll find out that they produce this, or they bottle this and they sell this plus other things, gin and whatever else. And yeah, if you go to their Facebook and or also in Twitter pages, you'll notice that since 2008, nothing else has been published. Bad news for us consumers. So I don't think there will be a lot of this coming out anytime soon in the future. I have the feeling this was a one-off, and I don't know why. I think this is actually nice. Mmm, mmm, mmm. Great mouthfeel, oily, great taste. A little bit of spearmint in there now. Very well done. And for a nice price as well. We used to have something called Green Ore. A Green Ore single grain Irish whiskey is actually the predecessor of Kilbeggan. Green Ore is the harbor where then the ships leave Ireland, basically go over to the Isle of Man or over to the UK. This is very, very good stuff. As I said, C++, B minus, value for money. I'm going to give it a solid C. I don't know anything else out there in this price range where I can actually recommend it instead. Yeah, maybe one day in the States you'll get for Cullen. Maybe you have other opportunities to get single grain with an age statement on it. That's very, very rare, and I must admit that is true. And this is very, very well done. Good. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. See you soon. Bye-bye.